Hello again. My name is Mark Morris, and you have joined another edition of Along the Rock, our podcast, our on-camera podcast, I guess I should mention. With me today, my guests are from the Open Door Community Church of Sterling, and specifically their recovery program. Senior Pastor Dan Swihart is one of my guests. Dan, thanks for coming up, I guess I should say. We're on a second floor studio. And Charles Larry III. Charles, my pleasure, man. This program, and I guess this is a good time of year to be talking about this, because toward the end of the year is when addiction and recovery is talked more about than it would be normally in other parts of the year, at least as far as those who engage in this kind of work are concerned. Dan, Pastor Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your church and your program?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having us, Mark. And so our church is Open Door Community Church, right across from Challenge Middle School in Sterling. Been in that location since the 60s. And when I came, the church had kind of declined to a lot of elderly people. And I came here about 3 years ago, and we've just been praying about what to do in the community, how to be a blessing to the community, and specifically because we're surrounded by all the schools. We just really had a heart for Challenge and WAC and Sterling High School because they're all just right around our church. And the conversations that led to this program actually came from what could we do for the high school students. And we said, our associate pastor, Jane Hamilton, she, in a conversation, she's like, you know what? I'm kind of addicted to my electronics. And I bet if I'm addicted as a 65-year-old woman, that these high schoolers have to be really struggling, with these electronics because they've just grown up around them. And so that started a conversation of how can we make an impact for those students. And it just continued to grow and morph into a much bigger thing that we figured out that we could be a much bigger blessing through this program called Recovery Alive. It's a faith-based 12-step program, and what we love about it is that it doesn't matter what your issue is, you can come to this program and start working through it. So yeah, it deals with drugs and alcohol, it's classics. But it also deals with, with grief, with depression, with anxiety, food eating disorders, smoking, vaping. It broadens it out to say that all of us have some issues that we need to work through, and says that this process can really help you, help anyone work through whatever issues they're facing. And so we just kind of embarked on this journey, and God's been opening doors, no pun intended, opening doors ever since in the community to bring this. And the biggest door he opened was bringing Charles along to us. So
anticipated my next question, Charles, is obviously means a lot to you. Excuse me. Tell us why it means so much to you, and a little bit about your background, because that's an important part of where we are right now.
Oh, Mark, you got time, bro?
We got nothing time. Nothing.
I'm originally from the south side of Chicago. I'm the oldest of 5. I grew up in a very abusive home, mentally and physically. And because of it, I felt unloved and unwanted by my parents. And there was this older guy, one of the OGs in the gang, after I did something violent, and he witnessed it. And he said to me, if you can't find, he asked me what was wrong, what was happening. And I told him, I said, man, I don't care if I live or I die. My mom don't love me, my dad don't love me, I just don't care. And he said to me, if you can't find something to live for, find something to die for. And it was in that moment that I chose to die for the gangster disciples. At the age of 16, man, I had a high-ranking position in this gang. And so being so young, having grown man problems, and not being able to go to anyone and ask for help or say I'm dealing with this because, you a man, deal with it. You a man, figure it out. So in the process of figuring it out, it led to a lot of drug usage, a lot of criminal activity. One day I went to my mom because I just couldn't figure it out. It was so much confusion. It was so much hurt. And I was at this time, I think I was like 18 years old, 17 and a half, 18 years old. And I'm a gang leader and I have all of this money, this power, but there was no happiness. There was no peace and I didn't understand it. And I remember going to my mom and my dad, they raised us in church. But because my mom was so abusive, I didn't believe in a God. We was at church 3 or 4 days out of the week. So I didn't believe in a God, but I ain't know nobody else to go and talk to this night that I could really just really open up and just share what was going on inside of me. Mm-hmm. So my mom, she was a seamstress at the time, and it's probably 9 o'clock at night. She's sitting at a table and she's sewing. And I go to her and I said, Mom, I can have anything I want, but I'm not happy. And she stood up and she threw her arms around me and she said, baby, it's Jesus. Everything you trying to fill that void that only he can fill, it's never gonna work. Only Jesus. So instantly I shut down. I don't want to hear about your God. I don't believe. This is the thoughts that's going on in my mind. I just want you to comfort me right now. Like, tell me what's going on. And she said she can feel it. And she said, babe, you ain't got to believe me. You don't have to believe your dad. You ain't got to believe the pastor. She said, but if you ever want to know the truth, you ask God to show you himself. One day I did that. One day I said, God, if you as real as they say you are, show me. Here's your chance to show me. I use this testimony because it's powerful. Right after this prayer, one day, a couple friends of mine, we on our way to go get him this car. We on our way, we racing back. And in the process of racing back, I get into this accident and I end up in jail. And the guy that I was with was hurt. And I'm laying in this cell and God flashes the whole accident. It's almost as if I'm looking at it on the ceiling. And he said, give your life to me. And so, I'm in a cell and I call the guard and I give him my real name and all of the real information because I gave them all alias. I'm a criminal, so you don't give your real information. So I give them all these alias names. So when they come, I give them my real name. Only thing on my mind is I got to get out and talk to my friend that was with me and tell him about what God just showed me and told me. I go through the block and I'm looking for him. I said, man, y'all seen Chris? They was like, no, I ain't seen Chris. That whole day I'm looking for him. I can't find him. And the next day I go back through that. Man, y'all seen Chris? They was like, oh, gee, you ain't heard? I said, no, what happened? Oh, man, Chris got booked for a murder last night. If I would have ignored God when he said, give me your life, if I would have ignored the vision that he gave me of how he allowed me to go through this whole accident and spare my life, I'd still be in jail right now for the rest of my life. It's moments like them, bruh, where it's just say, okay, it compels me now. All right, you just showed me. What made David so great when it came to Goliath is because he remembered his past victories. I remember my past victories. I remember those places of hopelessness. I remember those places of confusion and hurt. Wow, I have Jesus. I'm not just talking about without him in my life. When I have him in my life and the confusion and the hurt, if I'm experiencing this with the Savior, the person without him, that's in this life of addiction, of confusion and don't understand why, what to do. There's a scripture in the Bible that says God is the comfort of all comfort, and that we are to comfort with the same comfort from which we received. That's all we're doing with this program. It's the same comfort that we received from God in those hard times when we was confused and when we was hurting. We sharing it. We leading people to where the healing is, the comfort at, the restoration is at. Because he did it in me. And because he did it in me, I'm to stand and be the witness and the light that say if he can do it for me, he can do it for you. Because my God is no respecter of person. He wrapped himself in 42 generations of flesh because he loved me. My God loved me. And I want to share this hope, bro. I want to share this love with everybody God put in my path. Because I get it. What's the sense of me having a cure for cancer if I'm not sharing it, bruh?
Good point. So how do you share it? How do you share it with the community around community church?
Just what I just did. I just tell you what he did for me. And I trust God to do the rest.
Do you think your impact is greater because you have gone through everything that you've gone through?
No. Because of the presence of God on my life, bruh. I can only overcome and go through and endure what I can endure because of his strength. He said that in my weakness, his strength is perfected. He said, acknowledge me in all of your ways and I will direct your path. So I wake up every morning and I say, God, thank you for filling my lungs with your breath, giving me another day to be the man that you created me to be. Create an opportunity. Give me a chance to tell somebody about you. Give me a chance to point somebody to your heart. And I wait for him to do it. I don't have to do nothing special. I don't have to do nothing different. All I have to do is just tell you what he did for me.
A lot of addicts of one kind or another who are still suffering say they wake up every day and it's like, here we go again, another day. How am I going to get through it?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying you don't do that.
No. Because I trust God. He said to acknowledge him in all of our ways and he'll direct our path. There's a scripture that says, man make plans, but God determines the steps. How can I believe that a God who wrapped himself up in 42 generations of flesh sent his son to die for me? You got a son? Would you kill your son for somebody?
Would I kill myself?
Will you kill your son?
Oh, my son.
Will you kill your son for me?
No.
God did. What greater love than this? That a man will lay down his life. I don't know about you, bruh. I ain't grew up around love. I ain't grew up around all of that. I don't know what that feel like apart from God. What did he say to me? Nothing. Nothing you do, son, can separate you from me. What? Tell me what you want me to do. Because if you can use anything, use me. Because I understand, just like I understand this, if you disconnect that camera from its source of power, it cannot function the way it was created to function. If we are disconnected from our source of power, man, we can't function the way God created us to function. You can't be a good husband. You can't be a good son, father. You can't. How can I say I love you if I'm not connected to the source of love? You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And when you've tasted it, when you've experienced it.
Do you have a family?
I do.
How many children?
I have 6 in total, and 2 of them is in the streets of Whiteside County, addicted to drugs. Am I worried about them? Nope, because I trust God with them. If he can do it for me, I know what I've been through. I know the evil I've done. And if he can do it for me, who am I to think he can't do it for my sons or my son's too lost? Or the man walking down the street or jumping out of a window because he just stole something. He ain't too far gone. It just needs to be somebody that's willing to stand up and say, you know what, here I am, God. Because somebody has to go through it in order to say that here's a better way. Here's the dope to that. The problem is we don't want to go through nothing. But God said that in this life, in this world, there will be trials and tribulation. So I expect it. It don't surprise me because nothing that I experience is going to be a surprise to God. And that's what we're going to teach these men and women in this program is the mental discipline based on biblical principles. Because it's going to start right here, Mark. The Bible says, so a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. We think, we feel, and we do. If we can teach them that before you do anything, it's going to become a thought first. And if we can teach you how to control that thought before it become a feeling in your heart that'll produce negative actions and behaviors, we're doing our job, bro. Jesus said, I came to serve, not to be served, but to give my life as a ransom. Mark, I'm giving my life as a ransom.
This program, Along the Rock, today in particular, is an outreach. Now, do you guys do outreach? And how do you do that? How do you accomplish that?
Yeah, sure. I can speak to that a little bit. And I mean, most of it is word of mouth is what it really comes down to. Like a couple of ladies that came to the program one week, they said they heard it from their relatives, neighbor, friend. It's just that word of mouth spreading is the most important. We do put flyers up, and we've got a Facebook page for the program, Sauk Valley Recovery Alive, and we try to get the word out on social media. Have positive messages on that Facebook page. But really, it does come down to word of mouth. And we just want to get the word out there that this is here. It's powerful. It's simple. This book right here is the program. I mean, this is it. And it runs through everything. We have a lesson every Friday night when we meet. We have a lesson out of the book or a story. A story of somebody from recovery. So, and of course, even in the lesson, we try to tie in when Charles teaches, he tries to tie in his story into that step that we're talking about that night. But then we're going to have groups that meet during the week and go in depth through the book that are called process groups, and they actually go through the whole 12 steps together. As a small group, 4 or 5, maybe 6 people at the most, just delving deep into their issues and really working the program and finding those places where they need to admit their weakness, where they need to rely on God's power, and all those things that Charles was just saying from his story. I've got a addiction story too, and addiction's not the only thing that I'm working on. I'm, even as a pastor, a lot of pastors, shy away from this type of thing. I don't. I like to say I recover out loud, that I have issues I'm working through too, in my life. And, one of the things that I've identified that I still need a lot of work on is codependency. As a pastor, man, it's so easy to be codependent, and try to rescue people, save people, when God's not ready to save them yet, when God needs to do something else in their life. And if I'm codependent, if I'm trying to fix them, then I'm crowding God out.
It's different.
Yeah, it doesn't work the same way. It doesn't end well. And so, I'm working this program too. And so that's the word of mouth we want to share is just, hey, if you're struggling with anything, come experience this. You can just show up for one Friday night if that's all you need. If you just need one little check-in, and then you kind of get back on track and just come for one Friday night. Or if you really need to work deep into something, hey, join one of these process groups. Get deep into it. Work the steps. Do all of it. Another thing I think that we really like about this program that does set it apart a little bit from other 12-step programs is that most 12-step programs, you've probably heard of the amends steps.
Oh yeah.
where you offer amends for the things you've done wrong to others, which is, of course, a very important part of this program as well. However, what adds into it is the forgiveness steps, that it says there's wrong that we've done to others, but there's also wrong that's been done to us. And until we release that wrong and we forgive as Christ has forgiven us, we are still going to be trapped. And so it acknowledges the fact that abuse, like Charles's story, abuse has led to addiction in many cases and trauma in people's lives, sometimes completely outside their control. Maybe if they were part of a natural disaster or something. Trauma can lead to addiction and problems. And so this program adjusts those middle steps that, to amends and forgiveness, of releasing some of those things that were done to us, and saying part of our healing is letting those things go, forgiving those who have hurt us, letting go of those hurts, sometimes, again, completely out of our control.
What time Friday night does your program begin?
5:00 meal. We got a free meal. Do ask for donations if anybody wants to, help us to offset the cost of that. But it's free for anybody who wants to come. And
typical crowd?
Right now we're running somewhere between 15 and 20. But again, it just varies week to week based on who's available. And then we start the main program at 6 p.m. So if people eat beforehand, they can come at 6 and jump into the program at 6 o'clock, and we wrap up somewhere around 8 o'clock. So and there's an all group time, and then we split into men's and women's group for sharing as well.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of the schedule for Friday night.
And the address is again
1705 6th Avenue in Sterling, right across from Challen Middle School, Open Door Community Church. Again, everybody's welcome to join us.
Say somebody wanted to start by going to just a normal service on Sunday. When would that be, or those be?
We've got our regular service is at 10:10 on Sunday morning. And that's actually an exciting expansion. We're looking forward to actually 2 expansions I want to mention to this program. They are working on a book that is more about just basic Christian beliefs that would lend itself more to someone who just wants to start on the church side of things, maybe not the recovery side of things. So they're working on that. And then the one that we're really excited about, both Charles and I, is a curriculum for junior high students, because we've been in talks with the administration of the schools in Sterling, and the addiction in the junior high is worse than the senior high, and that just blows us away. I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear that. And so we've had an after school program. That's actually how Charles first got connected with us, is through our after school program for Challenge Middle School. Since we're right across the street, the kids just walk across, and we're going to start taking that program in this direction. And especially once they have that curriculum, it's supposed to be finished up early next year. We're going to work that in and try to start with these kids before they get to that place of being adults. So yeah, we're excited for what's to come in the future too.
All right. Want to throw a phone number out there?
Church number is 815-625-1288. You can call the church office and talk to any of us about it. We can always forward you on to myself or Charles. The secretary will probably answer it first. But
I know you have a lot more to say, both of you. So for now, I'll let you go. But keep us informed as to how things grow and how they go, especially maybe with that middle school program, because that is shocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, thanks for stopping by, Dan Swihart.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Charles Larry III.
Thank you, sir.
And you've been watching Along the Rock, and we'll be back with another one very soon. Hope you can join us.